Okay, we have the Lift Pad Pros lift pads. They'll do custom logos, right? So if you got a Scat Pack, an RT, a Demon, like any variation, right? Um, you can just have the logo put on, right? It's kind of cool. I mean, what's the point, right? And it's just cool, right? It just looks cool. It's not functional by any means, but so these are for the front of the car, right? So driver's side, passenger side in the front, just behind the front wheel. There are threaded holes in your frame. Okay, in the frame there are threaded holes specifically for these pads, right? So these are for the front, and then there are already pads, jack pads or jack stand pads in the rear of the car, but these are replacements, right? So these are much higher quality replacements for the rear. So you unbolt the factory jack pads, you use that factory bolt and you bolt these guys in right here. Okay, so Lift Pad Pros. I'll put a link to their website in the description of this video. I recommend that you just get the full kit, front and rear for your car, and some blue Loctite. Okay, this is medium grade Loctite. You got green, which is the lightweight, and then blue, and then red. Don't really ever use red on your car unless the factory manual calls for red, because you usually can't get that bolt out without taking a blowtorch to it. So I'm going to install these, and then I'll share with you kind of where they go under the car and how that looks, right? And so what are these for, right? Well, if you're jacking up the car, right, you got these jack stands. Link to buy these particular stands in the description. These are fantastic, huge rubber pads on here. Okay, look how big the pad is compared to my hand. Okay, these are like gigantic pads. It's probably 4 inches in diameter easily. So imagine, this is under the car. The pad is going to sit on the middle of this. So, everybody's like, oh, where do I put my jack stands? Where do I put my jack stands? You put your jack stands right where these pads are. So you jack the car up on the pinch points, right? And on the pinch points, let me just show you here. On the pinch points, you're going to want to put one of these guys, right? So you put this on the pinch point. It's got magnets in it, so it sticks on the pinch point. And then, right, we've got these jacks over here. And you've got your jack, right? So that sits on the jack, and you jack it up on those pinch points. And then once it's in the air, you throw your jack stand underneath with this guy on it, and you let the car down. Okay, we've got the Lift Pad Pro for the front. I'm on the driver's side, just behind the front wheel, okay? Now, to give you a reference, there's the pinch weld here for your jack. This is where you're gonna jack the car with your hydraulic jack. And then what you'll see here in the frame is a threaded hole. Now what you wanna do is clean this whole surface area up really good, okay? Get all the dirt out of there, get a little toothbrush or Q-tip up in there, clean out the threads, clean that good, right? And then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna install this guy, right? So obviously it's pretty simple. The bolt goes in, right? And then it just goes up. Now it's a 15 millimeter socket, I think. Let me check. Yeah, 15 mil. So I got this 15 mil on a 1/2 inch wrench. Why? Because you got to put some torque on it. Torque it down, pretty decently, right? Don't overdo it. And then on those threads, right, we're gonna put a little thread lock, okay, to keep that from backing out with vibration and things like that. Now, once this is up here, that's where you're gonna put your jack stands. You're gonna put your jack stand right on that, okay? And it doesn't stick down any lower than the exhaust, so you don't worry about clearance or anything like that. But you can use your 1.5 ton, 2 ton, 3 ton hydraulic jack to jack directly on this, okay? If you want to, in a pinch, if you need to jack it up real quick and put it down real quick, you can do that, right? But if you're gonna climb under the car, you're gonna do any work, you gotta jack on the pinch weld, and you have to put your jack stand right on this guy, all right? So I'm gonna go ahead and install that real quick, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, there it is installed. I'm gonna back out, give you some context of where that is in relation to your pinch weld. So there's the pinch weld jack point, and then there's the jack pad, right? So it's got the nice little logo on it, right? Which is kind of cool. And then, right, 15 millimeter, grade 8 steel, and it just bolts right in. I torqued it down probably to about 35 or 40 foot-pounds, somewhere in that range, but with Loctite on it. All right, now we're on to the rear. Okay, here's the rear. So if you're just in front of the rear wheel, you can see your pinch weld right there. That's your jack point. And then here's the point right here for your jack stand, okay? Right there. That's the factory. That's the factory, right? And this is really cheap, okay? It's pretty cheap. It can hold the car, no problem. Like, it's engineered, but it's cheap. It's cheap quality. Okay, so on the rear, the factory, it's 13 millimeters right here, okay? So you need a 13 mil. I do recommend a small attachment so you can unscrew it by hand and screw it back in by hand, and then, put the ratchet on it to just tighten it down. Okay, so when you unscrew this, right, this whole thing drops down. Just this whole panel comes down. And you'll notice that your bolt is held in by this little guy right here, right? So you're gonna reuse the factory bolt here, and we're gonna put that back in, okay, with this. But this is what the factory looks like. See, it's hollow, right? It can handle the weight of the car, no problem, right? But it's kind of chintzy, right? They do this to save weight, right? EPA regulations, every ounce on the car, every gram counts, and so that's why they make it like that, right? Plus, it's just cheaper. Shipping, everything's cheaper when you do that. And here's how it looks once it's installed. So there it is. All right, so there's your pinch weld, and there's your jack stand point right there.